Hey everybody, Cody from Bargains to Riches here, and today I'm going to be giving you 6 tips to be successful at your next auction, so stay tuned. So this is mainly for resellers, but this can be applied to anybody that's just buying at auctions for their own personal gains. To be successful, there's really 6 tips that I stick to. We're going to start off right away with tip number 1. This is one of the most important things, is look at the listing and pictures ahead of time and look up the value right after you do this. So most of the auction sites will have a website that or a listing. Oftentimes go to auctionzip.com if you don't know any auction places nearby. You can search by radius within your zip code or around a certain town. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at what are some of the items that are going to be on there, and then what the condition of those items are. So look at the main list and find things that you're interested in, and then look at the pictures and get a description. Try getting a description as much as you can. Look up on eBay and try finding that price to see what the value is. It's best to always be ready ahead of time before you go to an auction and end up paying overpriced for what originally the item or what the item is actually worth. So to go along with that, tip number 2 is purchase items that you have knowledge in. Now this is most important, especially when you're getting into reselling and buying stuff. You want to be buying items that you have a personal knowledge of, and I suggest to people purchase items that you personally collect or you personally use in your everyday life, that you know the prices already of what those things kind of go for, and work from there. So for example, with me, I really got into beer signs. You can kind of see in the background, I got beer signs and beer cans too. But I knew what the values are kind of based off of how I've purchased some of the items before. So I'd go to these auctions, and if it was underneath, just I knew like the basic, like what a basic value of a sign would be worth. Make sure that I would have that kind of set price, that this is like the minimum no matter what that type of sign it is. But then also do more research on the signs, because some signs are worth $20 and some signs are worth thousands of dollars. And so you always want to be keeping up on your research as well, even on the items that you already have knowledge in. So keep in mind of that, but especially when you're starting, purchase stuff that you know a lot of knowledge in. Now, tip number 3 is stick to your budget. Plan on prices you are willing to stick to. So this goes along with the planning stage, but even when you're at the auction, you're going to be finding stuff that you didn't see online in the pictures or in the descriptions. You're going to be able to see what the better conditions are hands-on when you're at the auctions, when you're doing in person. I know with COVID, a bunch of them have been online, so this makes it a lot harder, and this is why I like going to in-person auctions as well. But really, you want to be able to stick to your budget, so come up with a minimum or come up with a maximum that you're willing to purchase the item for, and stick to that. You don't want to be getting into a bidding war, and then all of a sudden you're not getting as much profit, or you're not getting any profit at all because you overpaid for the item. It's very easy to get into bidding wars, especially when you're new into auctions, to get into those situations. But it's also important too that you don't have to stick 100% to your budget, or you don't have to stick 100% to what you wrote down. Have some flexibility so that you say what your max is, but you might be willing to go maybe $5 less than that if it's like a cheaper item, but also be willing to pay a little bit more if you think that it's going to be easier item to sell and there's still enough profit to be made. Now, tip number 4 to go along with that is to avoid what I call bidder jitters. So with bidder jitters, I see this all the time, especially I've seen it with my dad, I've seen it with myself, and I've seen it with other newcomer bidders, is you start second guessing yourself. Bidder jitters is when you have your set price and you know what you should be bidding up to, But you start rethinking in your head that, I don't know. You start second guessing yourself. And for an experience better than that, you can eat up these people and you can take advantage of that. So what you want to do is come up with different strategies when you bid. One strategy that I do is I'll wait for everybody else to bid on the item and then I'll jump in at the end. Another one though, especially with people who have bidder jitters that you know are a little inexperienced, is to bid with them and bid quick at first and then act like you're thinking, but you know what your price is, but you're going to just kind of freeze the time for a little bit, because the auctioneer will ramble along for a little bit. Use that time and then bid. That extra little time gets them to think, oh crap, I'm paying a little bit more than what I was over for budget than what I think, or I'm getting close to my budget, but they start getting those bidder jitters. And if you're confident, that is the key, and you will win more items bidding if you avoid bidder jitters. Tip number 5, and this is really important going to consignment auctions or any auction in general, but remember the buyer's fee. So many ask right away, is there a buyer's fee at this auction? Or if there's sales tax. Some of them don't have sales tax, majority are supposed to, but some of them will have also what's called a buyer's fee. So say you buy an item for $1, you win a bid and you win it for $1 and you have a 10% buyer's fee. What that means is that on that $1, so instead of it being $1, you're paying $1.10 to the auction house for purchasing that item. Now, you're also going to have to pay on top of that. Usually they put the taxes on top of that $1.10. So for $1, it doesn't seem like a lot, but once you start bidding on items and they're $100, that's going to be $10 with a 10% buyer's fee. So you're actually paying $110 on that same item, and that could be very costly when calculating if the item is in your budget or not. So keep in mind, ask the auction place when you get to the auction if they don't show it anywhere else and you're not sure if they have any buyer's fee or not. Lastly, this is a tip that I do, tip number 6, and this is one of my most enjoyable things, is purchase unknown piles of stuff at auctions for cheap. So I go to a bunch of smaller estate auctions, to a guy that's known as a less quality auction house, but they still do have some higher stuff in there. And they do get mixed into these piles of larger garbage, especially at the end of the auction. You want to be sticking to the end of the auction. You'll usually be getting cheaper deals, and they'll usually be bundling items too, just to speed up along the process and get done with the day. So when at the end of the day, if you're unsure about something, let me rephrase that. So at the end of the day, they're going to start putting stuff in piles. Go up and take a look while they're starting the bids to see if there's an item in there that you're interested in, and if there's an item in there you know for sure you'd be able to make money on. So for example, I just bought something, it was a pile with a cigar box, and I knew the cigar box was worth $5 to $10, and they put in a bunch of this other stuff in there. There's like a baseball clicker, and there's a pocket knife in there that was with Ski-Doo. And I bought that for $1, and I thought the Ski-Doo knife was cool, but I didn't think it'd be worth a lot. Well, turns out I put it up on eBay and it sold for $218. And remember, I bought that whole lot for $1, and I wasn't originally buying for that item. This does happen rarely where that happens, but you still want to be buying these unknown piles of stuff at the end of auctions or during auctions. But when you're doing this, play it safe. Don't just be bidding on the stuff just to bid on it. Even though it's only for $1, you still want to have a little knowledge. Now, saying that, don't be afraid to also jump in, because if you're only buying it for $1 or $2, then there's not a lot of risk. And if you end up, there's nothing valuable, you're only throwing away $1 or $2. So if there's any other advice that you guys would like to hear in the next future video, please leave a like and leave a comment down below. on what you would like to hear in the next video, and then also comment what you found most valuable in today's lesson. Now, until next time, this is Cody from Bargains to Riches. We'll see you next time.